Namaste. This video is to give a quick introductory explanation of Chakra Tree Yoga, another company of mine. This is not a yoga studio. It's not a yoga studio. It's all online and phone for now, and sometimes in person. It's not your average yoga class. I would say it's more of a customizable experience where people that already have a little bit of a level of self-discipline in yoga or any kind of physical activity, meaning that they're able to do it without being pushed. I'm not a personal trainer yet. I actually am certified in yoga, certified martial arts instructor, and I came close to achieving a certification as a personal trainer. But some things came up. I intend on, it's not that hard. I intend on finishing the certification within the next year or so, just to add credibility to the whole, teaching physical activity thing. I think it's good to have certifications. I don't think it's necessary to have a degree in everything. I'm not saying it's bad. I do think it's good to have some training. Some people are self-taught and self-study, and that's okay. You just have to prove it. The proof is in the pudding. You just have to prove it. So I do have a lot of experience in that, and I am capable of teaching the physical yoga. However, I like to add that with different techniques of pranayama, mudra, hand gestures, meditation, even qigong, fusion. That's another company. It's not a company right now. At the time, it's called Fusion Fitness, and it's on the YouTube channel, as well as Chakra Tree Yoga videos, where I'm really trying to fuse different things. I mean, why be limited to, oh, I just do yoga? That's okay. I just don't want to do that. There's so many valuable things out there without getting too scatterbrained, without getting too pulled apart and distracted. You can pull little pieces of each one and then consistently practice them. I find there's great benefit to that. It's sort of what Bruce Lee did with his type of Kung Fu. He didn't just create Kung Fu, he created a whole philosophy. He studied philosophy in college. I mean, he really broke the boundaries of limitations of style, yet it was in one style. I think that's something that I have been inspired since I was a kid. And I realized that I could do the same thing with yoga. And I do the same thing with yoga philosophy. I did not study yoga philosophy in college. However, I have self-studied yoga philosophy intensely for about 10 years now. I would say I've been reading since 14, but my focus has been intense on that for about 10 years. It's a long story, but after my father passed away of metastatic lung cancer, I went through sort of an epiphany and found myself with a lot of time and temporarily money on my hands. And I decided to do whatever I wanted to do all the time. It was a good experience. Now I have to do things I have to do again. But for a good few years, I was able to just sort of get deep into myself. I invested in myself. I don't regret it. And the only reason I'm able to even do this right now, say anything worth saying, or contribute to society is because I took the time to do that. It was like retiring early. Fantastic. If you ever get an opportunity to do that, I highly recommend it. Don't get too attached to it. There are consequences. I do believe that we have to continue to engage in society. So, without going too far off into that direction, Chakra Tree Yoga is based on the concept of, in the Kabbalah, tree of life, that was always inspiring to me. The world tree, Yggdrasil of the Nordic tradition, the world tree, sort of these really gigantic trees, right? And they're sort of like, even in Avatar, there's a tree, a mother tree, I think it's called, or something like that. It's a huge tree, and it's alive. It has consciousness. It's they even consider it a god, and it connects with the whole forest. That's pretty wild. If that's true at all in real nature, what happened to these giant trees? I bet you there's giant trees. Even in Lord of the Rings, the elven forest, I can't remember, they're called Malorn or something like that. There's these giant kind of grayish trees. Oh, they're fantastic. And in the movie renditions, they show digital examples of them. I mean, they have bridges going up. I mean, these are I'm talking massive trees. There's something so primal about that. I feel like whatever it is that we're missing in this society of spirituality and consciousness has its roots in nature, has its roots in these gigantic trees that are living beings. And like we lost this connection. They're almost like our teachers, and they protect us and support us. So then you take the concept of the 7 chakras. Chakra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry. 5, 6, 7. Other traditions have more. I'll get into that later. And I absolutely love the theories of there's actually a possibility of 28 chakras. I'll get into it later. I'll show the math. I'll show the references. It's so fun. I don't think that most people want to hear that. I think it's too confusing. I think sticking with the 7 main chakras in the body is enough. And honestly, if you want to advance spiritually or your consciousness, if you just work with those 7, you definitely are going to get something is going to happen. Can't prove it. I can't show it to you. I promise you, though, that in my own experience, there is a real aspect to this. It's tangible. It's just energy. We don't fully understand energy, and that's okay. That's why we do this. It's an exploration. So I encourage people that already have some self-discipline to use these concepts, and really, I'm not just sticking with those 2 concepts. I'm using as much allegory and metaphor and artistic conceptualization, mental conceptualization, in the form also of art, which I do to help explain it better, so give you an experience that is more useful to integrate it, like really into your mind, into your life. Because if you don't integrate, if you don't really absorb, it just goes in one ear, out the other. You don't really get any benefit from it. So it's important to go deep. Yes, so people with self-discipline who want to go deeper, who want to go broader, who want to expand their consciousness. It's like the whole thing with yoga is there's really no end. And you're just doing this constant expansion of your consciousness. You never want to contract or restrict, right? Right? It's all about this expanding. More tolerance, more love, more peace. There really is never enough until there's no more to give, and then we can be content. I don't see that happening. So I think we got to get there first before we do that. Chakra Tree Yoga. What else? What else about Chakra Tree Yoga is interesting to you? What can I share with you? I would say that philosophy, physical exercise, breathing, self-study of scripture, of artistic symbolism, mantra. Most people are familiar with the word as mantra, but it's mantra. Uh, Vibrational sound. It has a power, and it's unique to the type of words that are being pronounced. Prayer. There's also a side, and I don't really get into this with Chakra Tree. However, Datta Dasa Akasha Ashram, which is a DBA underneath Chakra Tree, is sort of my more hyper spiritual, hyper God focused. So I try to keep Chakra Tree a little bit neutral, and where they're just doing techniques in yoga, and I'm not really getting too much into God except for mantra, which has God in it. You can't escape it. So then I have Data Dasa, so we go into more of a puja and ritual and condensed, of course, not too complicated, easy for the modern palate. And then social service, charity, helping others for free, just to help them, just being nice to people, being available to be people's friends. Anyways, I hope that was a good explanation, and that pretty much sums it up. Of course, there's more information later, and chakratreeyoga.com is where you can find this, as well as the YouTube channel at Zen Stello has a lot of the videos related to this company. Thank you for your time. The sun is setting. Namaste.